Shalom, Yasharala. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson and go through a couple of different articles real quick. Not very long articles or anything like that, but nevertheless hitting on the point that, hey, man, we've been doing a lot of videos and speaking on these prophecies that's been taking place, all right? But nevertheless, this is the time that we're in, all right? And as you know, you have a couple major events going on in the world right now as far as the coronavirus situation, the lockdowns, economic collapses and things like that. And, more or less to say perplexity upon these nations with these uprisings and these protests, all right? But nevertheless, hey, man, all these prophecies are all speaking all at the same time right now, man. All right. And those are, some of the bigger stories that's in the media right now. But nevertheless, there's still other things going on. So we're going to touch on just a couple of these other things real quick. All right. I'm going to start here in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and it will not tarry." All right. Because, you have all the things that's going on right now. None of this is actually new. All these things have always been going on the planet Earth. All right. But the difference now is that all these things are now all happening all at the same time. And on how they would say in the news, when you watch the news and they talk about these events, they say it's on a biblical proportion. All right. We've always had floods on the earth. All right. Here in Florida, where we are, whenever it rains, it damn near floods, man. The roads be underwater, parking lots be underwater, people's yards be underwater, and it's just a regular rain. No hurricane, it just floods, But nevertheless, when the Lord flooded the earth, all right, that's a different type of flood. You see what I'm saying? That's a global flood, more or less to say, You've had, America had went through a Great Depression, the economic, what do they call it? The housing market collapse in 2008 or whatever, whatnot. All right. But now you had a pretty much a total economic collapse here in America, man. All right. Because look, you got the mortgage companies not really getting paid because people ain't really going to work. Businesses are closed, so a lot of these businesses ain't making no money. So, and a lot of these businesses are up and running based off of debt because they took out, business loans or whatever, whatnot, but they're not able to pay those loans back. So that's also, affecting the banks that gave them the loans, the businesses themselves, they're going out of business. The people that those businesses employ, they're not able to pay these people. So these people are losing, their income, which in turn they can't pay their mortgage. Again, it's affecting the mortgage companies, their car notes, affecting the automotive situation or whatever, whatnot, and all these other situations, right? So this is on a way larger scale than that, and it's not just America that's collapsing economically. Look around the rest of the world because they're all suffering from the same lockdown, economic collapse, But on top of that, America was already economically collapsing at the same time, So the difference is now that everything is on a way grander scale and it's all happening simultaneously, and then a lot of these things are happening globally, So it says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie." All right. And another thing with that, it's going to speak and not lie, because it's not like you're going to have to ask yourself, like right now, you see the uprisings and the protests with the police and, soft martial law out there and everything like that. So, to the unlearned person out there, they may be like, "Oh, is this Jacob's trouble? Is this Jacob's trouble?" Like, nah, this ain't the full-fledged Jacob's trouble. When that time comes, you're not going to have to ask that question, man. All right, like how you people are watching the news and seeing those videos of the uprisings and the protests and how the martial law troops are somewhat coming down on them, hitting them with rubber bullets and tear gas. That's softcore, bro. Wait till they come out there with them big-ass tanks and them MRAPs and whatever, whatnot, and start hitting you, you're going to know at that point in time, you're going to be scared to go out. You're going to be scared to be seen by anybody, man. It's going to be let me read this again. It says, "But at the end, it shall speak and not lie." All right. So you're not going to be in that scenario where you're going to be asking, is this really it? Or is this really what we're talking about? So on and so forth, kind of like with UFOs, right? People think, they kind of question, what is that in the sky? So on and so forth. But when you really see one, it's not lying, but you know what the hell it is. Like, it's undeniably some shit I ain't never seen before. Like, that's what is that? Whatever, whatnot. Nevertheless, we're gonna go from let me go from there to some of these articles real quick. Just want to briefly scroll through some of these articles real fast. Matter of fact, let me go back. I want to grab this first in the book of Luke. Then I'm going to read it also in Matthew, but there's a point in Luke I wanted to grab. If we can get to Luke. Can we get to Luke? Let's try again. Okay. All right, here's Luke 21 and 11. All right, because these are going into the times of the signs of the end. All right, in which we're going to actually grab this in Matthew 24 for a different purpose, but I just want to grab a couple points out of here. Luke 21 and 11. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places. I believe there was just one, where was that? Mexico, I think it was. Either earlier this week or late last week. All right, I mean, there's actually earthquakes going on around the whole earth all the time, man. All right, look up the Ring of Fire and see how them earthquakes is going off every single day. All right, famines, all right, which we have, increase of food prices going on here. All right, you have how you call it, these, not manufacturing, but like where they, you would take like cows or whatever whatnot to so-called get them, ready to be sold or whatever whatnot, like production type of things or whatever whatnot. A lot of those places were shut down during the lockdown, so a lot of these people who were so-called harvesting, whether it be animals, fruits, or vegetables, and whatever whatnot, didn't have enough places to store them at this point in time, so they couldn't move in new stuff. They had to basically get rid of the old stuff. But nevertheless, like if you had a restaurant, and nobody was in there buying the food that you already got, the food's getting expired. Normally you would sell the food so you don't have to worry about throwing it away, but now nobody's there to buy it. You got more food coming in, no more space. What do? You throw away the old food and you keep the fresh food, right? So it says, and pestilence and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. And like, you're going to be seeing signs in the sun and the moon. I believe it is what they call like a stag moon about to happen, I believe, on a couple of days on 4th of July or whatever, whatnot. But nevertheless, and that's even going into some other shit like that too, because the stag moon, this is, going into basically like the Baphomet, which, if you understand, a stag is pretty much like a deer or a buck, but it's going into those antlers and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, um, going back up to it says in pestilence, right? Now let me jump down to verse 25. And there should be signs in the sun and in the moons and in the stars, which I was just going into. All right. And upon the earth, the stress of nations with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring. All right. So going into those things there, you have, again, these riots, these protests, these uprisings, and so on and so forth that's going on around the earth. All right. Economic collapses got people going crazy, Verse 26. And men's hearts fell in them for fear, for looking for those things which are coming on the earth, and for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So this is one of the points I want to touch in on. People are still kind of shook about the coronavirus and the mask. They aren't sure about how, things are going to go on. Because here they talking about shutting bars back down. They're talking about shutting everything back down, and masks on for everything, shutting the beaches down and everything like that for the holidays and everything like that. So people are kind of like uncertain of how, what the future may hold for them. All right. But nevertheless, dealing with the COVID-19 situation, right? Check this out. This is like the third or the fourth different like disease that's actually out there right now, but they're not really talking about this in the mass, all right? Because they got another version of I don't know, was it Ebola? I think it was called Ebola or something like that. And then they also have it's another case of something else going around. Salakia for this loading time. But let me find this article real fast. Bear with me for a second. Did just have it queued up, but Salakia. All right. I might have to pause the video to find this here article. So I just had it up. But nevertheless, they were talking about in the article about how there's a new version of the bubonic plague that's going around in Mongolia. All right. So apparently, they might have just taken it down or whatever. I think it was the last one on here. Let me see. Did I save it? Yeah, they just took it down. It would have been at the very, very bottom. But nevertheless, you know, they just had this other article dealing with these with the bubonic plague. They had, I believe it was like 2 people that died from it, and then they had a couple other people that they were so-called tracing that came in contact with these people. See, hey, the prophecies, they're speaking loud and clear, man. All right, all you have to do is go to, you know, your trusted news outlet or whatever, whatnot, and you know, you'll be able to just see how these reports are going out. You know, you can't just look at the so-called American media or whatever, whatnot, because we know how that censorship goes, you know. But nevertheless, like I said, they might have taken this here, not taken it down, but it's probably too far down the list now, all right, to touch on. It would have been down here at the very bottom of the last one, but it's gone now. All right, so nevertheless, we're going to go into this here other article, which was just right here. Oh, here it is right here. Damn, very top one. Mongolia locks down Western city after 2 people test positive for the plague. All right, like I said, these aren't very long articles. It says Mongolia authorities have locked down the city of COVID. You know, I believe that's how it's pronounced, but check that out. Kovad, you know, a region in the province under the same name after 2 people tested positive for bubonic plague. They reportedly caught the deadly disease by eating marmots. 2 identified individuals contracted the marmot plague in COVID region, Mongolia's National Center for Zoonotic Disease. In a statement on Wednesday, local media said that victims were a man 27 and a young woman of unknown age. The NCZD said it traced 146 people who were in direct contact with the infected duo and 504 more secondary contacts. They're currently analyzing the samples from these individuals. COVID is in the western part of Mongolia, north of the border with China, as plagues outbreak in nearby province bordering Russia, prompted by a closure of border crossing, stranded a number of Russian tourists. That outbreak was also linked to the consumption of marmot meat and claimed the lives of 2. Bubonic plague killed over 50 million people in Europe in the 14th century, but pockets of it remain around the world. According to the World Health Organization, there are 3,248 cases reported worldwide between 2010 and 2015, including 584 deaths. It's treatable with modern antibiotics. So as you starting to see one after another, things are just popping up. And a lot of these stories aren't just making headline news. Like I said, this is a while back. There was one on the Ebola that just came back out and everything like that, but it was a different strand under a different name. All right. So we're going to touch on, there's another article I was going to grab too, but we're going to just touch on this last one here, you know, for time's sake. All right. So I'll go back to the scriptures here. We're going to grab Matthew 24 real quick, and then we're going to tie that with Ezekiel 38. This is Matthew 24 and verse starting at verse 6. It says, again, answering the question, what are the signs of the times of the end? All right. Verse 24, or Matthew 24, verse 6 says, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right. And one of the things that we keep hearing about is more wars and rumors of wars. I believe was Saudi Arabia just so-called got attacked the other day. There was a situation over in Iran, that's in the articles today as well too. All right, near one of their nuclear facilities or whatever, whatnot. You know, you got Turkey and I believe France. You know, they got a little skirmish going on. You know, back and forth, and so on and so forth, man. So behind the scenes of all these pandemics and lockdowns and everything else going on, the protests and the riot, and there's these other prophecies are still banging at the door. They're still going on in their hand right now, man. All right, so it says, for you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, and so going into that, look at the times that we in now, man. Like the scriptures say, hey, the end is not yet, but these are all the beginning of sorrows. And what has 2020 has been? It's pretty much been all of the, you know, what we just read in verse 6 and 7. All right, all these things going on back to back to back to back to back, and what we was reading in Luke 21. All these things that's how all 2020 has been about, man. I did a video not too long ago, going down the list. You know, you can go on Wikipedia or something like that. I think I typed in the events of 2020 or something like that, and then they'll basically have it down, you know, day by day by day by day. You can see, you know, from the first to second to third to fourth to fifth, all these different things is going on. So every single day has been littered with basically these last major prophecies starting to come together. All right, so let's go and read a little bit of this here article. I don't know what's been going on my phone lately, but maybe they're probably doing another update. This happened the last time they was putting that COVID update. It says India approves purchase of 33 Russian-made fighter jets as part of a $2.4 billion arms deal. says New Delhi has greenlighted a massive deal with Moscow that will see Sukhoi and MiG build brand new fighter jets for the Indian Air Force. Quite a few warplanes already in use with the military will also be refurbished. 12 Su-30 Mark 1s and 21 MiG-29s built from scratch, and Russia will join the fighter fleet of the Indian Air Force, the country's government confirmed on Thursday. And see, we have another prophecy that's also taking place here besides the wars and the rumors of wars. You know, we'll grab this as well too in Ezekiel, but nevertheless, hey, Russia is being a guardian to these other nations. So while everybody else is worried about COVID, everybody worried about getting ventilators and getting people back to work and getting the economy up and running and stimulated, hey, man, the war drums are still beating behind the scenes, man. You know, Trump just announced not too long ago that they just created the super duper bomb or whatever, whatnot, to so-called, you know, compete with Russia's new weaponry and everything like that. But nevertheless, man, you see what's going on here. It's these prophecies are speaking loud and clear, you know. And how do you say, the chatter and the conversation in the room is so loud that you can't quite make out a single person's conversation. And those people's conversation more or less is a representation of the prophecies. All right, you know, it's not like just one person in the room speaking and you can hear them clearly just speaking about one topic. Okay, wars is going on. Are you talking about war and war and war and war? No, right now you have a whole room full of people screaming to be heard all at the same time. So you got, you know, the conversations like, you got war going on. You got wars and rumors of wars going on. You got the pandemic going on. Global economic collapse going on. Rioting and protesting. People waking up, you know, diseases and famines. All this chatter is going on, and you can't distinguish which one you want to focus your mind or your attention on, man. Because like Habakkuk says, man, hey, it's going to speak at the end and it's not going to tarry. It's not going to lie, man. All right? Russian engineers will also upgrade 59 MiG-29s already operating in the IAF, with the cost of both projects totaling roughly $2.4 billion. India received the first batch of lightweight single-seater jets back in the 1980s, meaning that it is arguably in need of a 21st century revamp. Both planes, designed to win air superiority and defend homeland airspace, have long been familiar to Indian aviators. Estimates say that there are over 270 Su-30s and 65 MiG-29s forming the backbone of the IAF frontline force. The rest include the French Mirage 2000 and the Rafale jets, as well as domestically made Tejas. I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced Tejas, but Indian media previously speculated that acquiring more combat jets from Russia was high on the agenda. Now, I wonder why it's high on the agenda, because this is what the Lord, you know, what is that, in Proverbs, I think 22, how the king's heart is in the hands of the Most High. All right, if it's not 22, it's 21. We'll grab it here in a second. But nevertheless, this is why they're prepared. They're still over here preparing, man. You know, we can grab that also in Joel chapter 3, you know, going down to verse 9, you know, beating your plowshares into pruning hooks, you know, or plowshares and pruning hooks, you know, so on and so forth, turning your agricultural spending and all that other infrastructure spending into military building, man. So this is going on right now. Instead of people, you know, they probably trying to get aid for the coronavirus and everything like that too. But that's, you know, at the end all be all, they still working on their military agenda, getting ready for World War III, you know. It says, aside from representing the Indian government at the Grand Victory Day Parade, Singh met with Yuri Bursov, Russia's vice premier in charge of the military industry. The exchange was very positive and productive, the Indian minister said in a statement that was light on details at the time. Aside from that, New Delhi expedited other weapon procurements. Okay, other weapon procurements. So again, the scriptures are speaking loud and clear, man. These prophecies, you know, hey, if you can't put two and two together by now, you know what I'm saying, and see these things, especially how we're bringing it out, man. Hey, the spirit just not on you to see these things, man. We was going into this last night on the live stream, bro. You just blinded. All right. So it says, it says New Delhi expedited other weapon procurements such as the S-400 air missile defense system and critical spares from Russia, originally scheduled for 2021. The first of 5 S-400 batteries will arrive in India by the end of the year, Russian media reported, citing India's military sources. All right, so, hey, look, stronger than sanctions, what's driving countries from Turkey to India to buy the S-400? All right, and the answer to that question, in fact, we're going to read it. What's driving these countries to buy that? All right. Matter of fact, before I get that, I just quoted this. Joel 3:9 says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. All right, and this is what you see going on again during COVID situation and economic collapses, what are they also doing? They also got these military men preparing for battle, man. They're like, no, don't forget about that. Keep your eye on the prize, man. All right, it says, verse 10, beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears. Let the weak say I am strong. All right, and so this is basically what you see going on with these different nations. India and all that, they had these older planes, but now they're starting to upgrade their planes. They had these older systems and technologies and weaponry and all these different things. But now what are they doing? The big thing that we keep seeing in the news, I can say, at least for my own self, as long as I've been in this here truth putting up videos, you know what I'm saying? It's always been another country with some new equipment, Russia coming out with some new shit. More and more people starting to buy from Russia, and America's to the point where they're starting to get mad at these other countries, i.e. Turkey, for buying these weapons and things. Also India too, but because they was mad when they was buying an S-400 back in the day when they made the deal for it. But nevertheless, you starting to see these people leaving from America's side and going over to the Russian side, All right, so we're going to close out here. Ezekiel 38. And I'm going to start at verse 2. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. All right, which is talking about Russia. And say, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth. So going back to that, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. So if you go back to what the USSR was, a big, that was one big conglomerate, not to say conglomeration nation. Now it's a bunch of different countries over there now, but before it was just one big block, what was it? The United Soviet States, something like that. I forgot what it was, but nevertheless, it was a big conglomeration of nations, more or less to say, kind of like how the EU is, all right? And, or like NATO, they were like basically a big military power block, dominating. They were damn near a superpower, you know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, after Gorbachev and all that, they wanted to fall. And, I want to go into the history of that. But, with Stalin and Lenin and all that, they pretty much corrupted and destroyed their infrastructure and everything like that, and going into Gorbachev and all that, at that point in time, Russia was pretty much a third world country. All right. After World War II, it became like a third world country. But when Vladimir Putin came into office, all right, they started bringing back their military, which you see them developing now. All right, their economics, their trading ability on an international scale with these other nations and so on and so forth. So this is putting those hooks into the jaws of Russia, bringing them back to that old state that they was beforehand. All right. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So it only really mentioned one offensive weapon here, like the swords, But nevertheless, everything else is or offensive. All the other weapons are pretty much defensive weapons, Basically, i.e. in modern days times, missile defense systems, all right? And this is what you see going on right now. And one of the major things that because Russia's got like the Satan 1 and Satan 2, the Cermat missiles, those intercontinental ballistic smart missiles, all right? Nuclear-powered cruise missiles, all right? Hypersonic missiles. They got all of that right now, but they're not selling that type of technology to nobody else. They keeping that. But what they are selling is these S-400 missile defense systems and S-300 systems, all right? Verse 5, Persia, which would be Iran. I believe it is India as well, too. Those are like the same people. They're Elamites, all right? It says Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Tomagah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Going into like Turkey and who are those other allies? Like Turkey, Syria, Iran. All these are all Russian allies. But then you also have these other nations like India. What is that name? The Philippines with Rodrigo Duterte, who was cussing Trump out because he's like, look, how you gonna tell me who I can and can't buy weapons from? We're gonna stop buying y'all guns. We're gonna start getting guns and other things like that from Russia, Verse 7, be thou prepared and prepare thyself. And that's what's been going on. Like I said, Russia was like a third world country after World War II and everything like that, But since Vladimir Putin came into office, that was those hooks being put into the jaws. But then they was also doing what? It says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself. All right, so that's what they've been doing, preparing themselves, developing new weaponry, defenses, all these different things. They're trying to go with the global trade. They got the BRICS system trying to get up off of the petrodollar. You know, they got you know, they trying to export oil all over the place to these different nations and things like that. You know, so now all of a sudden they trying to prepare themselves and prepare these other nations to get up off of that Babylonian titty. You know, so it says, "Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." So these nations are assembling themselves to Russia right now with these different pacts, trade agreements, and weapon procurements and all these different things. So they're assembling themselves to Russia, dependent on them for what? To be a guard unto them with their weaponry and things like that, so that they can defend themselves and protect themselves, and also wage this here war and fight against these Babylonians here in America in the midst of World War III. All right. So real quick, just as a recap of everything that we went over, you know, it was the third article I was going to try to grab up, but, you know, for time's sake, you know, but you see these, you know, the importance of these here articles that I wanted to bring out was the fact of the matter of, hey, you know, right now, you know, you don't hear a lot of talk about wars and rumors of wars and these militaries still building, you know, and other things going on and so on and so forth. But hey, lo and behold, these things are still going on in the background, man. All right, this is the time that the Most High spoke about and told us about and all these different things. So now all these things are starting to come up, like you read in the book of Matthew 24 or the book of Luke 21. You know, that's why I say this is the time. How I say the frequency of how these things are happening and the scale of the size they're happening at, all right, should let you know that, hey, like they said in the news, this is a biblical proportion. This separates this from everything else. Not to mention, we see that RFID chip, you know, pretty much about to be rolled out, you know. So we know that we at the end of these things, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruach. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and taught us this truth and that rule well. And citation and much love for you. I can push in this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So next time I say, stay strong and shalom.